Latest football news, engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk from home. Still not on IO Radio. We are counting down the days until we return on IO Radio, when we can actually see each other in person instead of on this electronic screen we have to do. Now, Dan and Piers.
Yeah, good. We want to be back in the studio, don't we? I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to be, but
yeah, I'm missing all the technical hitches we have to deal with before the show. It's like a mad rush. Oh, which mic's working? Which fader's down? Which one's up? Oh God, what have they done? What's this music they're playing? I miss all that. But, before we get started, if you want to follow us on any of our social medias, it's pretty simple. If you go to our Twitter, it's at Pitchside Talk. Instagram's talk_pitch. YouTube, it's Pitchside Talk for any of our previous shows. And also, if you want to listen to us on an audio basis or offline, it's Mixcloud, and that's Pitchside Talk as well. So, guys, we've had a busy week in football. We've had a very, very busy week. We've had the Premier League. That has ended. We now know who's going to play in the Championship, Europa League, and also who got relegated. And it's a bit controversial because there's now complaints going to be put in over a certain bit of technology called Hawkeye. Never heard of it. And also, we've got the Championship playoffs, which have provided some entertaining action for this week, as we will find out who will be going up to the Premier League soon. But starting up with the Premier League, 351 days it has taken to complete the 19/20 season. Thank God it's been completed, because I was, as a Liverpool fan, I was a bit worried. But we finally found out who is going to be playing in the Champions League next season and who got relegated. And we will start with the relegated teams going back down to the Championship. So we know Norwich were relegated. That had been sorted out well before lockdown, probably after the Man City game when they won. That had already been sorted. And then the other two teams that joined them were Watford and Bournemouth. They got relegated on the final day of the season. Starting off with Watford, they finished 19th. They were, how many points they got? They got 34 points and they finished 19th. They were only 1 point away from safety, 1 point, but they lost 3-2 to Arsenal on the day. They needed to get a result against Arsenal. They didn't get it. They've gone down. It's a bit of sort of a shock to see Watford go, really, because they look very consistent, even though they have this new policy of getting a manager in, sacking him off when he's not doing well, get another one in, he does well, when he's not doing well, get rid of him. We saw that policy come into, full fruition this season, really. 3 managers in one season, or 4 if you want to count Hayden Mullins taking over as caretaker manager. But has that sort of chaotic season affected them on and off the pitch and cost them really this season, having this policy of sacking a manager, just get rid of him, get a new one, when he's not doing well, just get rid of him again?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably the main reason why they went down. It's been a really disjointed season for them. I think obviously they had a really poor start, didn't they? They were bottom of the league by quite a way. Can't remember when it was they started to pick back up.
They won against Norwich. They won against Norwich in, I think, about 13 games it took them to win their first game of the season.
Yeah. They did well to come back at it, but I just don't think the policy of sacking managers like that quickly, one after the other, is the right thing to do. I think Watford have always been like that, and I think they need to change that up. I think it just, I don't know, I think the players feel like they don't trust in the owners and what they're doing if that keeps going on. And obviously, I don't think the players are happy at the moment at Watford. And I think sacking Nigel Pearson as well, with 2 games to go, I think that was crucial as well. I think if he stayed in until the end of the season, they maybe could have got that extra point that kept them up. But yeah, it's been a really tough season for them, and it's been a confusing one as well, I think.
Yeah, it's been very hard for Watford. I mean, like you both said, they had a terrible, terrible start. And to come back the way they did, because they were outside of the relegation zone at one point. You know, they'd done well, but the constant change of managers is like when Fulham, not last time they went down, but the time before that, when you keep changing managers, it's not going to fix it. There's not always the manager that's the problem. There's always going to be problems within the club. And I mean, Watford, it's not like they haven't got a bad squad. They've got a good team. Obviously, results just haven't gone their way. But I think, a key example is get rid of Nigel Pearson with 2 games to go. I mean, what are you going to achieve with that when you've got Manchester City and Arsenal? So it's a shame for Watford. I think if they can hold on to their players, they'll do well in the Championship. I think them and Norwich will do brilliantly in the Championship next season. So they just need to rebuild off this, learn from their mistakes, and try and rectify it.
As you said there, Nigel Pearson was sacked with 2 games to go. When he was sacked, they were 3 points outside of the 3 points away from the relegation zone. They were safe. They were technically sort of safe in this battle. I know they had Man City and Arsenal come up, but what were they going to achieve by sacking him? I know they lost to West Ham 3-1, which is a big blow that could have saved their season like it did for West Ham, that they got the draw against Manchester United, which did save their season there. But it just sort of sums up their season, really, that they just sack anybody that's not doing well, even though he's going through a bad spell, but he might have picked up, we don't know, he might have picked up a point against Man City or Arsenal, because Arsenal are not a consistent team. Could have maybe saved the goal difference against Man City. Does that sort of show that they just don't know what they're doing really at Watford sometimes?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't really understand that method. I think sacking Nigel Pearson with 2 games to go, obviously, as you guys have said, I don't know what it's going to achieve. I know it was 2 tough games against Arsenal and Man City, which obviously are going to be tough to get points at. But if you keep with a consistent manager until the end of the season, they may have been able to get a point out of that. I think Nigel Pearson he's good at keeping teams up. I know it was close at the end, but I think he could have maybe got that point that they needed. But yeah, I think that just sums up their season. If they think that a manager's not doing well, they're going to sack him no matter what. And I think that's what Watford have been like for the last 5-6 years. So yeah, it's really unfortunate for them and not the right way to go about it, I don't think.
No, it can't be good for the players' mentality. You know, with 2 games to go and your manager gets sacked, it's not the best mentality to have to go into. Although, you know, it would have been a hard task anyway for Nigel Pearson to get signed against Manchester City or Arsenal. I mean, I don't see anything they could have gained out of getting rid of him. So I don't really understand it. I don't understand why they keep changing manager so often. I don't think it's a good idea to change a manager halfway through a season, unless you're definitely having a dreadful season. Obviously, what was happening with Watford, because so much has to change when a manager comes in, and with the squad of players. You know, sometimes you've got to look at the squad of players themselves before you look at the manager, I think.
So Watford are down now in the Championship. How do you think they will fare in going back into the Championship? They haven't been there in the last 5 seasons. Last time they did get promoted, and then they sacked their manager. So there's a bit of a policy. Will they do well in the Championship if they find the right manager and possibly go, we'll keep you on for 2 to 3 seasons to see how you go? Or is it just going to be, you're in, and if you're not doing well, bye-bye?
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. We've seen quite a lot of times when teams get relegated, they don't have a very good first season Championship. We've seen it with Villa, Huddersfield, Stoke as well last season. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who they bring in as manager. But if they can keep some of the players that they've got, I think they can have a good season. I think they'll aim for promotion. I think that'll be their aim, and I think they can get that if they keep the right players. I think obviously some will leave. I don't think they'll want to play Championship football, but if they can keep that core group of players, I think they could do well next season and get in the top 2.
I say, Dan, you forgot to mention Sunderland ahead of all season.
Yeah, of course.
Can't believe
Sunderland.
All the teams. Bad. Piers, he's bad today, isn't he?
So bad they got a documentary, innit? Sunderland.
I can't wait for season 3. I wonder what happens. But no,
Watford aren't.
Sorry.
But
yeah, Watford will do well in the Championship, Piers, hopefully.
I think that they're going to have to try and bounce straight back up. Like Dan was saying, some of their players aren't going to want to play in the Championship, and I think if they don't bounce straight back up, they'll start to lose players, and I could see them getting stuck in the Championship if they don't go straight back up. You know, they've got some players aging in that team, and some players are definitely good enough to play in the Premier League. A player like Delafeu is a brilliant player who I think could possibly leave, but I don't know. It'll be funny for Watford. I think they can go straight back up, but if they don't, I think they'll start to have more problems.
Ooh, that is very interesting. Another team that went down on Sunday was Bournemouth. Little old Bournemouth. They went down after a 5-year spell in the Premier League. It's quite weird. They had a promising start. They only lost 3 games in the first 11, but 19 defeats in 25 games saw them head into trouble, and they went into the relegation zone. I didn't know this, right? But every season that Bournemouth been in, they've conceded 60-plus goals in every season. It sort of shows they're not very good defensively, and when that attack is not going, Bournemouth are in trouble. And we've seen that time after time this season, they haven't improved. They spent a lot of money on attackers that are not doing well. If you look at Dominic Solanke, for an example, he's only scored his first 3 Bournemouth goals in the last 3 games. So there's problems at Bournemouth, but were you surprised to see them in this relegation battle, even though they've had promising seasons?
Yeah, I think with Bournemouth, they've done really well since they come to the Premier League. I think the first season that they, I think it was 15-16, their first season. I was like, they're definitely going to go down, and they surprised me. And I think they've done really well to stay in the Premier League this long. I think they had a promising start, obviously, as you said. So I think it is surprising that they're in the drop now, and they're going down to the Championship. But I think the defence. I think the defence for Bournemouth hasn't really been improved that much. I think they've still got players that they had in the Championship in 14-15. They're still playing that back four, and yeah, they haven't really improved it as much as I think that they need to. And as you said, if the attack isn't on their game, they're not gonna score goals, and they're gonna concede lots as well. So I think they've just been really inconsistent this year. I think they just leak goals, and I think that's the reason why they're going down. But it has surprised me that they are on the drop zone, because I like Bournemouth. I think they've done brilliantly in the time that they've been in the Premier League. So it'll be interesting to see what they do next season.
Yeah, I think Bournemouth have built great foundations. Like Dan said, when they went up, I thought they'd go straight back down. I mean, they've gone all the way from League Two up. They went from League Two to the Premier League pretty quickly, and I think to have stayed in it for 5 years. And to be fair, most of the seasons they weren't even looking like going down. They've looked quite strong. They've built a lot of foundations. They just haven't been smart with their transfers. The players they've brought in, just a lot of them haven't performed for them, and unfortunately that's what's happened to them. I still think they've got a good manager in Eddie Howe. Whether he wants to stay or not is obviously a decision up to him. He's been there long enough, but yeah, I think with Bournemouth it's just been a bad season, and they've gone down. I'm not too sure how they'll do in the future, but I still think that their fans can be happy with how they've done over these last few years.
I said about Eddie Howe's future. There's a lot of rumours circulating now about what he's going to do. He didn't really answer questions about his future. He sort of skipped past them. But do you see him staying at Bournemouth in the Championship? He looks like a promising Premier League manager, but would he stay there? And if he doesn't, where would he go? Because there doesn't look like there's many opportunities in the Premier League now to sort of have a good team, really. I would say more down the back end of the table, we could find a team possibly.
Yeah, I think that Bournemouth will want him to stay. I think, he's a legend there. I think he played for them as well. So I think they will want him in the Championship. As you said, he's a brilliant manager, but I think it's down to if he wants to stay. I don't know if he's happy there at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see what he thinks about that, and if he wants to leave or not. But as you said, there isn't really anywhere he can go at the moment. So I think I expect him to stay for next season in the Championship. I think he's going to be the Bournemouth manager, but maybe not. I could be wrong. Maybe he wants to leave. But I do think their fans and the Bournemouth owners do want him to stay on for the Championship next season.
Yeah, I think he's a great manager for them. He's obviously done brilliant with them. I mean, people a couple of years ago were talking about him possibly being the next England manager. So he's had a great stint. I'd like to see him maybe at a bigger club, like more of a challenge. I could see him possibly in the future like a club like West Ham, who seem to change managers, a fair bit. I think he would do well at a club like that. I think he could help sort of help West Ham because they've had a lot of problems over the last few years. But I think if the Bournemouth board give him what he wants, then I could imagine him staying because he obviously loves the club because he hasn't left yet. I just think that he wants to be shown that he's got back in the Championship, and given enough resources to try and get them back up.
Well, speaking of the Bournemouth board, this is breaking news. Bournemouth board will meet later this week to discuss the possibility of a compensation claim against Hawkeye over the Aston Villa ghost goal that didn't happen because they are saying that goal cost them staying in the Premier League, and it did. It would have done, if you look at the thing, they would have gone up by 1 goal difference. They would have stayed up. But speaking of the team that did stay up was Aston Villa. They survived the drop after securing a point against West Ham. Dean Smith said staying up was better than winning the playoffs. I don't know where he got that from, but that's what he said. He thought it was better. But some people will argue that Aston Villa were lucky to stay up this season after what's happened with the Sheffield United ghost goal, Hawkeye not working, VAR can't look at it because we don't know why, because VAR doesn't do goals. But are they lucky to stay up, Aston Villa? Should they still be in the Premier League technically after what's happened?
Well, I think that Bournemouth, obviously, they're going to feel hard done by after that ghost goal, I guess, at Villa Park that happened earlier on. But I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of luck involved, but I think Villa do have a good squad. And I think they have a group of players that could easily stay up in the Premier League. And I think, obviously, it's gone down to the last game of the season, but they have been getting results. And they throughout this season, they have been getting good results. And for me, I think they do deserve to stay up in the end. I think Bournemouth obviously leaked goals. Watford kept changing managers, and I think Aston Villa out of probably the bottom 4, I think are the best team out of them bottom 4 and probably deserve to stay up. So maybe there's a little bit of luck involved there, but for me, I think they're good. They were good enough to stay up this season.
Yeah, I think with Bournemouth, they can complain, as much as they want, but when you lose 22 games in a season, then maybe they should try winning one of those instead of complaining about other clubs. But with Aston Villa, I think they've played some brilliant football this season. I think even though they've lost to the top teams, I think they've played well against all of them. Let's not forget they got to a League Cup final this year. They've played brilliant. I think Aston Villa played very good. I think they've been a very exciting team. I think there was obviously a bit of luck involved with some of the results they've had, and with the goal line technology and all that. But I think Aston Villa have done well, and I think in these final few games they've shown why they should stay up. The win against Arsenal and the draw at the weekend just showed that they've got the fight to stay up.
It does show they had the fight step. I think the last 13, they were winless in the last 10, and the last 3, they got 7 points out of the last 3 games, which proved what they needed. They needed them points. They found them points, and they survived. There's now a lot of rumours over Jack Grealish, who scored that goal that has kept Aston Villa up. Will we see him stay at Aston Villa next season? Because he looks like a good player. Villa, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if they're going to have a good season or a bad season, but what will he do now with his future? Because he's the biggest sort of rumour this transfer window. Will he go and leave his boyhood club, Aston Villa?
Yeah, it will be interesting to see. I think we all know that he's been linked with mostly Tottenham for the last however long it is. And he hasn't moved then. I don't know. I think he loves it at Aston Villa, and I think now that they're staying up, there is a chance that he could stay. But I think if Aston Villa get a good offer from a big club, he'll probably go as well. So I think it could go either way. I did see that they sacked their, I can't remember who it was. Aston Villa.
They sacked their recruitment manager. Yes, I did see that. Yes, I will get that.
Yeah, so they're obviously not happy with how transfers are being dealt with at the moment. But yeah, it will be interesting to see. I think it probably could go either way. I think he'll be okay to stay, but if Villa get a good offer for him, he'll leave.
I'm just going to find that news, actually. I've got a chance. Yes, they sacked the club's recruitment manager or the sporting director who brought in loads of them transfers. I think they got rid of 11, 12 players. They brought back in that 11, 12, but that looks like that has sort of cost them a little bit this season. But will Grealish stay at Aston Villa? This is the biggest question on everybody's lips. I know you said about Tottenham are linked with him, Manchester United linked with him, Man City are linked with him. Anybody in England's linked with him, really.
Yeah, I think personally for myself, I think Jack Grealish has done the job that he needs to do for Villa now. You know, when they went down a few years ago, he stayed with them, he stuck with them, he's helped them get promotion, and now he's helped them stay up. I think he's done everything he needs to do for that club now. Obviously, he loves the club, so if he decides to stay, then that's more than fine. But if he wants to start to, you know, pick up on his career and have a chance to start winning trophies, then I could see him. I think it'd be a good time to move. I could definitely see him at a club like Tottenham. I think he'd fit in there well. I also think a club like Arsenal, he would do very well at.
Ooh, two North London clubs. I wonder which one he will go to. We'll find out over the next 6 weeks, as the Premier League will start in the next 6 weeks period. But now we're going to go up to the top four. Starting there, Chelsea, they secured top four after a 2-0 victory against Wolves. They only needed 1 point, but they got 3, and that's what has secured them. Frank Lampard has done what we would describe as a very good job at Chelsea, really, in his first season. It didn't look very good when he walked in. I think when he walked in, he had no Hazard. He was gone. A transfer ban. So no summer signings for him. Lots of youngsters coming into the side that are proven at championship level, but we hadn't seen them at that Premier League level. And he's now walking out with, you know, Champions League football, an FA Cup final, proven youngsters that are showing that they are Premier League quality. And he's got 2 superstars coming in, Tino Werner and Hakim Ziyech, starting next season. So at Chelsea, the future is looking bright, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah, it is looking bright. I think I'm quite surprised how well Chelsea have done this year. I think at the start of the season, I was like, I'm not sure if Frank Lampard's the right man, because he just finished 6th with Derby in the Championship, and Derby had finished 6th the season before, so there wasn't really any. Yes, George.
I'm not going to say. I'm going to do it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I wasn't too sure, but I think Chelsea have had a very good season. I think they've shown the quality that they have in their squad, and I think the additions of Werner and Ziyech as well, I think that'll really help them into next season. And I think Piers will agree that you're quite optimistic for next season. It's looking good for Chelsea.
Yeah, it's looking all right, isn't it? You know, the amount of grief I got at the start of the season, telling me my club's going to finish 7th, mid-table, relegation, all of the above, and I think Lampard's blown it out of the park. I think Chelsea have had a very good season. You know, top 4. That was what I hoped for at the start of the season. That's all I hoped for was top 4, and just for the board to sort of support Frank Lampard and everybody to get behind him. I think he's done a brilliant job as a manager. I think he's a brilliant manager. You know, players like Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham coming in have done brilliant. Reece James has been one of my favourite players to watch. You know, Ruben Loftus-Cheek come back, Hudson-Odoi, although he hasn't played as much. I think we're looking very good. With obviously the introduction of Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, and possibly Havertz from Leverkusen over the next 2 weeks. It would be good, but all saying that, I think Chelsea have still got a lot of ways to go. You know, 33 points off Liverpool is not good enough in my eyes. I know we've had all the problems, but, you know, as Chelsea, you always want to challenge for the title. So I think, you know, set pieces, Chelsea have been almost the worst team in the league at defending set pieces this season, and corners. So we've had a lot of problems there. I think the defence just needs to change. I think the introduction of a new left back would be great. You know, Marcos Alonso, as good as he is, he's only got 1 foot. So once he's taken off his left foot, he can't do anything. So he'd be a good sub, and a new goalkeeper for Chelsea. You know, I backed Kepa for a while, but I don't think he's. I think after his few mistakes over the last few weeks, I think it shows that Chelsea need a new goalkeeper. Just like with Liverpool, they had the problems with the defence and the goalkeeper. They buy a centre back and a goalkeeper. They've won the Champions League and the Premier League. So I think that's what Chelsea need to do now. We need to get that defence shored up, and I hope they stay with Lampard over the next few years, because I think with Chelsea, a bit like Watford, something doesn't go right, they sack their manager. So I think they need to stick with this manager now. Do like with Pep and with Klopp and stick with him because he's building foundations to this club and he's promoting the youth. So I'm really excited.
Yes, you said that the futures look bright, but there is a few problems, set pieces. All the players like to see and shout Kepa. Don't know why. But there was a big statement on Sunday that Kepa was dropped. He was dropped for Woody Caballero, the 39-year-old, the most expensive goalkeeper getting dropped. That's sort of saying that bye-bye, your future's not here. And there is rumours now of Oblak is the main target for Chelsea. He will not settle for anybody else apart from him. Is he more important to get a goalkeeper than to possibly have Havertz? Because Chelsea have got a very packed midfield if you look at it.
Go on, Piers. You're the Chelsea fan.
Yeah, go on, Piers.
You know
Yes.
about this.
Yes, I agree. I think our midfield is fine. Personally, I think our midfield is good. I think we're fine even without Kante at the moment. Personally, for me, I think now would be a great time to sell in on Kante at the age that he's in. You know, it might be a bit controversial, but I think he gets a lot of injuries and he misses a lot of games this season. And I think at 30 years old, we could cash in from now. I think Kovacic does his job brilliant. But I think, I would definitely want a goalkeeper over anything at the moment. Centre, Jan Oblak would be a brilliant sign for Chelsea. Personally, I can't really see him coming. I think a goalkeeper like Nick Pope would be someone I'd love to see at Chelsea if they could get him. I think he's already proven in the Premier League and he's done brilliant. I'd like to see him get him, but the main thing is definitely for a keeper and that back four. The midfield's already packed with talent. You've got Kovacic, Jorginho, who needs to improve still, but he's still very good. Ross Barkley, Loftus-Cheek, Billy Gilmore, plenty more. They're doing fine, but yeah, definitely. I mean, if they got Jan Oblak, then I would say we could contend if we got another left back, no centre back as well.
Okay, well, moving on to a team that missed out on the top four, and it was Leicester. They missed out. They ended up in 5th place, not securing Champions League football next season, playing in the Europa League instead. Should they feel quite disappointed, Leicester, missing out on the Champions League? Because they had plenty of opportunities. They throw them away. Because looking at for the start of lockdown, they were 8 points clear of Manchester United in 5th. But since lockdown, they've only got 9 points in 9 games, where Chelsea got 18 and Manchester United got 21. So should Leicester feel quite disappointed that they missed out on the Champions League? And this is where they want to be. They want to be in the Champions League. They want to be fighting again.
Yeah, I think they will feel disappointed. I think obviously they've had a really poor after lockdown. They've had a poor time after lockdown, and yeah, it was 8 points, so it was quite a big gap at the start of the season again. So I think they will feel disappointed, but I think they can still feel happy with the season they've had. I think they've outdone what people expected them to do, and they've looked good this season before lockdown. And as I said last week, it's all about momentum with Leicester. As soon as it stopped, the season stopped, their momentum went. So I think finishing 5th, they'll be playing in Europe next year. I think they should be happy with that. But obviously, I think they will feel disappointed that they missed out on the Champions League. But Man United and Chelsea, they were on a roll. They were down their necks, so yeah, it was difficult for them. But yeah, Europe next season, so I think they should be happy overall.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, obviously, as a Leicester fan, I'm sure it's a shame and for the club after being within the top 4 for so long. But I think it's a brilliant achievement for Leicester. They've struggled a little bit since winning the title, but I think now being in that top 5, this is something they can build on. They can now solidify themselves as a European team, and I think a team like them and Tottenham are definitely going to be favourites for the Europa League next year. Imagine what an achievement it would be within 5 years winning the Premier League and then winning a European trophy. It would be amazing for Leicester. So if I was them, I'd still be more than happy.
So moving on to a team that secured top 4 in 3rd place, beating Leicester on the final day of the season, was Manchester United, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was delighted, he said, so much so he sprayed champagne everywhere. It was that meme where that guy sprays champagne, he gets the medal and all this. He celebrates hard, and then second and first look at him like, what are you doing? He qualified that after their worst start in 30 years. How did he turn it around? He's defying science, isn't he, really, here?
Yeah, it's I can't believe how well they've done. I think They've done absolutely fantastic. They've been on an absolute mad one since then. I think that obviously the addition of Bruno Fernandes. I know there's this whole thing that people argue that he only scores penalties and stuff like that, but I think he does. But I still think he's been an influential player in that squad, and it seems like ever since he's joined, they've been on a mad run and finished third. So I think he's been a major point in that. But I think, I just don't understand how that's happened really, because they had such a really poor start. And after lockdown, they've just been on a fantastic run, finished third. So fair play to them. And it'll be interesting to see, if they make any additions in the summer and what they're going to do next year. But I think Fernandes was crucial in that. And I don't know what else really. It's just a really surprising thing that's happened.
Well, since Bruno Fernandes joined, Manchester United have earned 32 points, the most out of any of the other sides since lockdown. They've earned the most in 21 points out of nine games. A lot of it's been put down to this Bruno Fernandes effect, but is he the main reason why they've made a massive turnaround by signing him? I know they signed for 68 odd million, which I think is a bit of a waste of money, but is he the main reason why Manchester United's season has turned around? Because it looked a bit doom and gloom by about December time. It was looking slowly on the up, not really anything, and it's just gone through the roof, isn't it?
I mean, I think so, yeah. I mean, it's the Bruno Fernandes effect, I think. I don't know what he's done. I don't know what he's given those players, but he is a brilliant player. I sort of laughed when Manchester United signed him. I thought, here we go, another box standard signing for Manchester United. But he's done brilliant. I think he's proved a lot of people wrong. He's a brilliant player. He's I don't think he can single-handedly bring Manchester United to a trophy, but I think he's a very good player for him, and I think they would do well to build a squad around him. I think he's helped other players as well. He's taken pressure off Pogba, but you've also got to thank players like Martial, who's come into form. He's doing really well. Obviously, Rashford coming back from injury. Obviously, they missed him. So I think for Manchester United, it's promising. I don't think that they'll challenge next season. I think that they'll need some time to build on that squad, and they've got a lot of areas to work on. I think they'll probably have to evaluate the goalkeeper, but overall, I think, I would say Bruno Fernandes, Martial, and Greenwood.
Well, those are the people that have turned Manchester United around this season. I hope they get sold in the summer. Moving on to the start of next season. So the next season will start in under 6 weeks' time. We cannot wait. The 12th of September is the start date for the new Premier League season, the 2021 season, and we will find out who will be playing in the Premier League. So we've got the new teams joining our Leeds and West Brom, but there's still one position up for grabs, and the Championship playoffs are happening right now. And there was one happening on Sunday where Swansea took a 1-0 advantage against Brentford after an Andre Ayew missed a penalty, but then scored a half volley out of nowhere in the last few minutes to give Swansea the lead. The Swansea look like the team in form at the moment. They just scraped into the playoffs in 6th. They look like they are doing so well. They took in, the last 9 games, took in 17 points. They look like the team on form. Can they take this brilliant form that they're going and just have it at Brentford again, who are a little bit of a slump at the moment?
Yeah, they are. I think we've gone over the fact that I think Swansea pulled an absolute mad one on the last day of the season. I think it was about 7 goal difference between them and Forest.
Ooh,
and they beat someone 4-1, I can't remember. And Forest lost 4-1 as well and somehow got into the playoffs. I cannot believe that they did that. That's absolutely mad. They're on a good run. And I'm really surprised that they actually beat Brentford on Sunday. I think Brentford have looked the informed side in the Championship since lockdown. I think they're exciting to watch. So it was quite a surprise when Swansea went and won. But it's going to be tough against Brentford, especially are they playing at Griffin Park again? I can't even.
Yeah, Griffin Park. Yeah, the new Griffin Park. It is.
It's the new one.
Yeah, the new one. Yeah.
There's always a new stadium curse, isn't there? So maybe Swansea will go there and win, but it's going to be tough against Brentford. I think it's going to be close. I think it could go to extra time. I don't know. I think Brentford have enough to win the game. I don't know when it is. Is it tomorrow?
Yeah, it's coming up on Wednesday. It's happening today. It's happening today, Dan.
Okay, sure. But yeah, I think Brentford have got a chance. Brentford have got a chance to go up as well. And I know Swansea are on good form, but I think in big games, Brentford's come out of the blocks, and the way that they play, I think they definitely have a chance as well.
Yeah, I think Swansea looked amazing in that game. I mean, that goal, as soon as that happened, I had to rewind it and watch it about 3 times. The play was amazing. When that went in, I thought that's one of the most ridiculous things I've seen. I thought Swansea looked very good. I thought they looked very good. I think they're going to be the dark horses. I think Brentford have hit a bad patch at the worst time possible in the season. You know, they just hobbled over the line towards the end after having such good form. You know, they're one of the most exciting sides to watch, along with Fulham in the Championship. So I think it's a shame for them. I think it's going to be a task, but with it only being all up for grabs.
We are experiencing some technical difficulties at the moment.
Away, then been a lot harder, but at 1 goal, it's anyone's game. But it's all right.
Oh, it must be George because I'm fine.
Technical difficulties. I just apologised. I just apologised because Piers gone all buzzy. I was like, so yeah, apologies for technical difficulties. We'll get through this very quickly. So yeah, Brentford on a poor run, lost the last 3 games. They helped Barnsley survive on the final day of the season. History's not on their side after losing the first leg. Have they peaked too early in this good form? Have they peaked too early now?
Maybe they have. Maybe because, you know, they had a very good few games. Losing against Barnsley, that was quite big. I know Barnsley were trying to survive. They did well to survive, but it was a big loss against them. And we saw it with Leeds last year. You know, having a bad run going into the playoffs always it doesn't do well. I think Leeds last year lost to us on the last game of the season, which I don't know how that happened, but so yeah, they went into the playoffs and lost that. So yeah, it's not good to go in bad form going into there. So maybe they did peak too early, but I think Brentford still have a chance. I think they're an exciting side, and I really like Brentford. I'd love to see them in the Premier League, and I'd love to see how well they did. But Swansea, they're looking good as well. So it's going to be a good game, and I'm hoping it'll go to extra time and penalties. I think that'll be exciting.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. I think, you know, although Brentford are in this bad form, which could, you know, Swansea suddenly in this good form, that could equally as well end going into the second leg. So I think it's on a coin flip this game. Like Dan, I'd love to see Brentford go up. I think they're a brilliant team. They're my favourite team in the Championship at the moment. But for some reason, I've just got a feeling that Swansea are just going to nick it. I think it's going to be like a 0-0 or something.
Okay, well, moving on to the second playoff game. So Fulham outplayed Cardiff to get a 2-0 advantage, taking back to Craven Cottage. It's a good performance by Fulham. It doesn't look like anything can really stop them. They did finish fourth in the Championship. Finished fourth. Sorry, and he said third. They got knocked down by Brentford, but nothing could stop them really in that Cardiff game because Cardiff looked a bit off, if you have to sort of say so myself. I thought they looked a bit off.
Yeah, they did. I think overall, I think Fulham have a better squad than Cardiff. I think Cardiff, they have got a good squad, but you know, they do well in Championship seasons when they're in there. They did well to go up and finish second under Neil Warnock when they did. And yeah, they've done well to get in the playoffs, but I just think Fulham have a better squad than them. I think, yeah, they did look a bit off. I know there were 2 really good goals. You know, Onema's was fantastic, and it was a good free kick as well from Cabano. So yeah, it was just that bit of quality that went against them, and I think Fulham are in the driving seat now to win that game. And I think they will. I think they just have a stronger squad than Cardiff, and I think Fulham will be in the final.
Yeah, I got to agree. Although I think at the start of the game, Cardiff looked dangerous. They had one or two chances that could have gone in and probably should have gone in. But I think Fulham looked like a Premier League side in that game, the way they played. And the first goal they scored was an amazing solo goal. I thought that was amazing. And then obviously the free kick. I think a 2-0 is probably done. I think Fulham will do well to take it home and get the win. And I would say that probably at the moment they're probably, the favourites to go up.
Okay, so big questions, the biggest question of all, and the final question before my internet crashes out because I know what's going to happen next. Who's going to be in the playoff final, and who is going to join Leeds and West Brom in the Premier League next season? Who is it going to be? I want to know who's your playoff final and who is going to join Fulham and Leeds and West Brom. Sorry.
Right, so I'm going to back Brentford for their game against Swansea. I know they're 1-0 down, but I think I don't know. I just have a feeling they're gonna win the game, whether it goes to penalties or not. So I'm going to say it's going to be Brentford versus Fulham, which I think will be a good final. And it's going to be difficult to predict that, but I think Fulham are going to go up. I know Brentford, they're exciting, but I just think maybe they need another season. I think if they are in the Championship next year, I think they'll go up next year. I think it'll be like a Leeds. So I'm going to say Fulham are going to go up in a Brentford-Fulham final.
Okay.
I don't think you can predict anything this season after what's happened in football with Leeds and Liverpool. So I think the team that are going to do it, I think Swansea are going to, I think they're going to beat Brentford and they're going to have an absolutely horrendous game against Fulham, but they're going to beat them. And I'm going to say Swansea are going to join them and go up.
So Swansea to return or Fulham to return. That is an interesting prediction. Well, we've hit the end of the show before my internet does crash because I can see what's happening. I can just see my internet now just going, I'm going to crash in a few minutes and it's going to be a fun time trying to reset me. And so I want to say thank you for listening to the show today or even watching it. If you've watched it on YouTube, seeing our beautiful faces and my one frozen and apologising for technical difficulties. Piers is talking apparently fine. So before I forget to go, follow us on our social media, which is at Pitchside Talk for Twitter. Instagram is talk_pitch. YouTube is Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen to any of our previous shows or even this one, I know you want to listen to this one. Come on. You want to join me and listen to it. And also Mixcode, if you want to listen to us offline or even audio because you don't like to see our beautiful faces, it's Pitchside Talk. Guys, I want to say thank you for joining me this week. Next week, we're going to be talking about FA Cup final because we'll find out who's going to finally win that. Championship playoff final because we will know who will be joining Leeds and West Brom in the Premier League next season. And I don't know what we might talk about. Maybe Europa League because that's starting back up again. The knockout tournament of the Europa League. What fun summer's going to be. Forget about the Euros. We've got European football back. Everyone's happy. I can hear Piers is trying to break his smile because he knew his Bayern Munich are going to win. It's Chelsea.
No comment.
No comment. What's now going to beat them? They're going to beat them now. Just you watch. It's the Frank Lampard effect. Well,
4-0.
4-0. Well, I've been George, and I'll see you next week. And ciao.
Yeah.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.